hesabu yangu nikapata nimekata gharama yangu na 50%. 50. Si hiyo ni Mungu. Asante Makiga.
Katika chama wetu ya wamama, sisi nilinunua masini ya Makiga. Yawa, si ndio hii matokeo? Ni maringa.
Siri ya ujenzi, siri ni Makiga.
Let's talk about investments. But that in investment, there is one rule for the day. That the return that you're getting at all times has to beat inflation. We do know where we're standing currently, 9.2%. But then there's another rule that this particular asset or asset class that you're getting into, generally over time, as time goes by, the value of that particular asset has to keep on increasing. So we invested 10 shillings now. There's no day you're going to wake up maybe 5-6 years later and say, well, let me wait for it to improve in terms of the value. You are assured that indeed that particular value has gone up. So when you look in the economy, yes, there's so many assets that you can actually put your money in and then they become a hedge against inflation. But one thing is going to stand out. In the Kenyan economy, whether you like it or not, whether you're opposed to it or not, there's one particular asset that has always proven to be a hedge against inflation. What am I talking about? Land. Any other investment advisor will tell you, yeah, it is safe to put your money in land, especially when it comes to Kenya. So we thought about it and said, this is the best time then for us to close the year with this particular conversation. And who better than to have in the studio to open for us that particular discussion other than the CEO, AMG Realtors, Andrew Muthe Gitau. Mr. Gitau, how are you doing? Welcome to Lookup Business, but most certainly welcome to Lookuptv. I want you to take 2 minutes before we get into the deeper conversation, just to talk to any other person asking themselves the question, why land and not any other particular asset to put their money in? 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Simba Elijah. I'm delighted to be here today. As you said, I am the CEO and founder of AMG Realtors Limited, which is a real estate company based in Kenya. Thank you, viewers. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today. Why land? It's very simple. Look at all the other investment options that you have. And it's only land that has almost 100% guarantee to keep going up. So for example, look at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. I personally bought 1,000 shares of a particular airline company way back in 2005 or 6. I bought at 72 shillings per share. That was 72,000. Today, one share in that company is about 3 or 4 shillings. It's even suspended. So we are talking about 4,000 shillings. So my 72,000 in 2005 is 4,000 shillings today. Assume you save money in the bank, for example. So you save 100,000. In 5 years, you will have just 100,000 still. So as you're talking about inflation, what will happen is that you will have become poorer. Now, assume the bank gives you an interest on your money. Interest today for 100,000, I doubt you'd get anything more than 3-4%. Call it even 6%. You are still below inflation rate in Kenya, which you just mentioned at 9.2%. So you are losing 3% every year on that money. Now, assume again you buy dollars because you want your money not to be in Kenya shillings. The dollar could go up, it could go down. There's no assurance. Land, I don't know any particular place where land used to cost 72,000 shillings, for example, in 2005, and costs 72,000 shillings today. I bought a piece of land, and I say this with a lot of humility because it's just trying to give an example. I bought land in Membli in 2002. Membli is off Thika Road. I bought for 120,000 shillings. 120,000 shillings for a plot. Today that land is worth about 8 million shillings. So compare my Kenya Airways, I was not supposed to say that. Compare my airline shares.
Yes. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
We know what's going on.
Yes, it's public information
Yes.
in any case.
Yes.
Compare my Kenya Airways shares, which I bought for 72,000 in 2005, 2006, and the value today, which is 4,000 bob, 5,000 shillings, and suspended even, and compare that to my land, which I bought for 120,000 shillings. Today is worth 8 million shillings. So that is what land does. I tell people, land is better than anything else that I know. Anything else that I know. And I say that because I'm in the land business.
Pretty much.
So I am biased, but I also speak from a point of knowledge.
Pretty much.
Yes.
That deeper conversation, by the way, is coming your way. And you can see those bits of knowledge already there. I mean, what a better way for us to open the show today. I know those questions are going to come in. Talk to him right here on Lookuptv, across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. I do already have some of your questions that you sent in yesterday when we said that he's going to be in the studio today. So make sure they're also coming in as well. He's going to be addressing that shortly. For now, let's cross over to the newsroom so we can get to see some of the biggest stories that are taking center stage business-wise. Welcome back. Now, Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has urged Commonwealth nations to work together to implement reforms that will strengthen the existing multilateral trade links among the nations as a lesson from the disruptions brought about by the Russia-Ukraine crisis. He spoke while representing the president in the ongoing Commonwealth Trade and Investment Summit in London. He expressed the president's concern about the slow pace at which agriculture reforms at the World Trade Organization were moving, draining monies from officials as a result of improved productivity in Africa. This being the first event after the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic after the recent concluded COP27, Musalia took the time to recognize the contribution of the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council in putting the event together. First on his priority list was the call for the Commonwealth nations to make sure that education systems in their respective nations promoted creativity needed to compete in the international trade arena.
More effort, therefore, must also be placed in making our education systems fit for purpose in a never-changing, globally competitive context. In Kenya, for instance, we are constantly reviewing our educational system, and we are now introducing a competency-based curriculum.
Musalia took the Hustler Fund narrative to the international stage as an example of what the nations need to do so as to prop small businesses in their economies and grow them to the international level.
The lowest of the lowest can access about $20, be able to trade with it, turn it around, and we have provided a facility where at a personal level, if you are doing it well, you can borrow up to $500. Now that looks pocket change for most of you here, or it sounds like pocket change, but I can tell you that within the Commonwealth, there's that segment out there. That is where the bulk of the people are, and they must have access to credit to be able to trade and therefore multiply and grow into the bigger traders that we want.
The Chief CS has further challenged the Commonwealth nations to prioritize inter-trade with the potential to realize $2 trillion by 2030 once all the back-end limiting factors are sorted out.
Commonwealth's global exports of goods and services stood at $3.75 trillion US, representing about 15% of the world trade. The value of intra-Commonwealth trade in goods and services stood at $673 billion US. And we are seeing that if we push, as it has been highlighted, we have the potential to grow the inter-Commonwealth trade to $2 trillion US by 2030. This is a target that we must really focus on.
In perhaps what was the best rally for the nations to work together, Musalia has called upon the nations to move together with one another in the challenge to develop so as to meet the initial goal behind the creation of the body.
3 C's: commonalities, commonwealth, and commonwealth. Opportunities abound on our collective histories, common language, common legal structure, a wide geographical spread, and a large population. We must make this count.
UK Chief Secretary of Trade has also challenged the nations to work with the young population to provide both the market and the market solutions that are much needed for the bloc to succeed.
1/3 of the planet's population, with 60% of them under the age of 30, a collection of much valued trading partners for this country, representing almost 10% of our total trade with the world.
For Lookuptv Business, Simba, Elijah Charles Kiage. Moving on, buy now, pay later company Lipa Later as a fully acquired troubled Kenyan e-commerce startup Sky Garden. This comes after 3 weeks after Sky Garden CEO and co-founder Martin Mauland announced that they had found a buyer for the company. In September, the startup hinted at the possibility of shutting down after failing to raise a much-needed funding round. Sky Garden started its operations in 2017, but had seemingly failed to raise enough revenue to turn around its fortunes and fully fund its business model.
So it's an acquisition, it's a full acquisition. Lipa Later has acquired Sky Garden 100%. Of course, it is our, not of course, but it is our intention for Sky Garden to continue to operate independently as a business. We will retain the business operating as a completely separate entity, and that is why I use the word partnership. But for the sake of commercial structuring, we have acquired the business in its entirety.
BNLP will now plug into the business of connecting small businesses to buyers in the industry, especially in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, which sees buyers charged 8% on every successful transaction.
We've come to realize there are very many partners where there are synergies a lot of partners that Lipaleta has been using can really increase and make us more efficient operationally. So our coming together enables us to take advantage of these small pockets of good relations they have with certain partners that we may not have had in the past, and vice versa. A lot of items or partners that we may have that they did not have before. So it brings us all together, and we're able to take advantage of that as well.
We will spend the next couple of years expanding Sky Garden across the country, expanding it across the continent. We operate now in 6 countries. We will continue to take Sky Garden with us and scale up the business.
The firm has so far raised a total of $5.2 million from venture capitalists. The company raised $4 million in a Series A round of funding last year and had gained considerable popularity among its competitors. BNLP now says the plan is to expand the business in the country and turn around the profits for the company.
So for us, we have worked with Sky Garden for several years now, and Sky Garden has been a very important partner for Lipaleta. Sky Garden has worked with over 10,000 merchants, has worked with hundreds of thousands of customers across the country, and has been a very big enabler of e-commerce and overall commerce in the country.
For Look at Business, Simba, Elijah Charles, Kiage. Moving on, now data by the Ministry of Education shows that the number of students enrolling for PhDs and a master's jumped 20.5% to 34,403 in the year that ended June, which is the highest ever recorded since 2019. This, experts indicate, could be as a result of firms resuming hiring and restoring full salaries, opening opportunities for master's and PhD graduates.
The COVID-19 pandemic, according to the research by the Ministry of Education, led to the lowest number of enrollment for the courses in 8 years, from 44,657 in 2019 and 67,407 in 2019 to 28,539 in 2020, which further worsened the financial situation of the cash-strapped higher education institutions. The pandemic also saw the slowest increase in pay in 11 years, with official data indicating that private companies raised average monthly pay by 2.24% to 69,102 last year, compared with 3.97% to 67,585 the year before. With the economy rebounding from the effects of the pandemic, a total of 926,100 jobs were added in both formal and the informal sectors last year, the highest since 2015, when 929,000 employment opportunities were created. Since 2016, several campuses have been closed across the country after lower entry grades cut student numbers, adversely affecting the lucrative parallel degree programs, which forced a majority of the universities to revise their fees. The data further shows that the learners in parallel courses had to part with nearly 500,000 annually for courses like medicine and pharmacy. Fees for regular students pursuing degrees remained unchanged. Fees for regular students pursuing degrees remained unchanged for more than 2 decades at about 26,000 annually. Ian Keitani for Look Up Business.
EGM Securities has held an exclusive youth networking forum geared toward improving financial literacy among youth in the country. Speaking during the event, EGM Securities CEO Samuel Kiraka noted that there was need to prioritize financial literacy among youth in the country to improve on a savings and investment culture, which is heavily lacking in the country.
There's lots of room for people to get to know about financial markets, both local and global, a way to save and to trade initially. Because what has happened over the years from my days in school, we actually never got a unit where we have been trained about financial literacy. We never got a course about that. And that cuts across even in universities and colleges overseas, not just Africa. So generally in the world, there hasn't quite been. And that's why we saw an opportunity for us to improve on the level of financial literacy.
If you're a young investor, I think the best way is to look into specific sectors and asset classes that have a good chance of moving upwards, and then start investing early.
FX Pesa, we were here and the first regulated broker in Kenya. We're very much Kenya's broker in 2018. Until we were here, the access to these things was very limited, and we can see through this year through the financial literacy journey that we've been on, and we've spoken to 330,000 Kenyans since we've started, and we will be speaking to millions over the next few years. We know that there's this appetite to have truly global access to these products, and it's great to see the people here today, great to see you guys here as well and have these conversations and open people's eyes and the doors of opportunities for these products.
Finally, agricultural organizations in partnership with the Bungoma County have converged to celebrate the International Soil Day. The event is meant with the theme, Where Food Began, is meant to sensitize farmers on how to conserve soil fertility to boost agricultural produce.
While addressing the challenges in the soil, they'll be more knowledgeable at what point or what is it that they are addressing, what is it that they should increase in their soils. So with support of soil tests, they'll be able to apply the best fertilizer to address the challenge that has been highlighted with the soil testing.
Tuko na haja sana ya kuhimiza wakulima wetu waelewe ya kwamba mchanga yetu sana sana imekufa na lazima ifanywe kitu ndio iamke. Tumeona mazao, tumeweka fertilizer zingine, tumeweka nyingi, lakini ukweli ni kwamba unaona mazao bado inaenda ikipungua pole ikienda kupungua. So ni vizuri wakulima waelewe that mchanga lazima iwe hai ndio iweze kupata mazao mazuri.
Kama sisi wakulima tungeomba serikali yetu itupatie nafasi ya kufundisha wakulima wengine mambo ya kilimo hai. Kilimo hai ni vile unalima bila kutumia synthetic fertilizer. So huwa tunatengeneza fertilizer zetu za kiasili with the locally available materials.
Anyway, thank you very much. That's not the morning drift. We are rushing into the markets. Thank you very much, Paul. Wow. Anyway, let's look into it then. Right now, we have been questioning where the money has been, by the way, for the entire of this month. Because if you look at the equity turnover, the NSE, it's been quite low. And I will tell you why. Some experts are saying because of the COVID-19 restrictions in China, then you will say that trade is again subdued. And we do know that international investment portfolio at the local market is what? Could be doing at 68%, 70%. So when the Chinese economy is affected, then we'll tend to see that also fall into the Kenyan economy. All right, for now, let's jump quickly then before we get into the bigger conversation for the day and see exactly how we are opening this morning. And we're going to start by what were the biggest gainers for yesterday. Jumping quickly into that, I will tell you what it was. Everybody, and I will tell you, not so much of a change. And that's why I really do not want us to really concentrate on these big gainers. Because again, you'll expect Liberty, Everybody, Umeme Limited to be there across the board. Every time Everybody would jump maybe from 70, 60 cents to 74 cents, that would essentially be the biggest gainers going by how that particular stock is trading. Something to Umeme and Liberty, we've been seeing them here this week. So for now, I would like us to jump into the biggest losers, see whether there is any conversation from there in as much as the markets closed yesterday. Yes, HF, and we've seen that. They're back now to the 3 shillings and 05 cents. By the way, they did announce profitability in quite a long time, and now they did jump to 330, 320 something. They're back to 3.05%. And that means they're going to be the biggest losers. Can Group not essentially stable on that particular stock? Because now they're back to 9 shillings and 10 cents. East African Cables, again, back to the losing stock. We're back to Uchumi again at 25 cents. Every time they'll break into the 30 cents, 40 cents mark, they're going to go back to the top gainers list. Good. Let's then see where the money was yesterday in terms of volume in the market. See whether Safaricom is back at it again. But then again, you see that. That's what we said. Where is this money? Safaricom is just coming in with a flat 3.7. I know the markets are closing on 15th, but is it not a bit too early to talk about Safaricom not closing into the 5 million mark? Now that will show you exactly what it is, because if Safaricom is not doing 12 million, 10 million plus, then that tells you exactly where the market is. It's like we've gone completely on holiday. Wow, look at that. Cabacid now is back at 1.1, you'll say 1.2, going by that. Equity, 600,000, not broken into the 1 million mark. And that tells you why we've been having sort of a negative equity turnover throughout. Because right now, I will tell you, Cabacid is back to 1.8. Safaricom is at 542,300. KPLC is at 107,000 flat. Centum, 96,700. The thing is, Safaricom, after 1 hour, 25 minutes of trading, has not broken into the 1 million mark, telling you that even at the end of the day, then, they're bound to struggle. Two things, normal, yeah, towards the end of the year. But then another thing is, well, probably the China COVID-19 restrictions are limiting investments right here in the country. Reduced trade, you'd expect that by the effect of the biggest economy in the world. And we do know how much Kenya relies on the Chinese economy. Maybe yes. Now, that is the only takeaway. But remember, every Monday right here on a Look at Business, then we'll bring in market experts who put this data into perspective. And we're going to do that run, but we're going to put the entire year's trading into perspective. Now, the bigger conversation, though, is on how to hedge on inflation. Land. Let's get into that. I can see some of the questions that are coming through my personal line on WhatsApp. You can do that, but proper then, let's go on Twitter at Kiage Simba, Lookuptv, across all your social media platforms. Once we come back, let's speak to the CEO, MG Realtors, who's going to tell us exactly why you need to invest and what is it that they got for you as a company once we come back.
Kufanya fujo na kutuambia ya kwamba wanataka ati wapange maandamano na fujo, hiyo ni kutubeba ufala ya kilograms nyingi sana. Hiyo haiwezekani. Honestly, I think we really have to be honest with ourselves.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.